What's up, duelists? Today I've got 3 really cool replays with this deck I'm going to show you guys, but first things first, I got to plug the really big charity tournament that's happening this upcoming weekend. It's going to happen on Saturday, June 25th. Don't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to enter the really big charity tournament, just donate $10 minimum to a charity of your choice, and then send me a screenshot of that, and that will be your entry into the tournament this weekend. You will also have to join on the Format Library Discord when the signups open for the RBCT, but you know that's the straightforward stuff, the stuff you're used to. The top 8 from RBCT, really big charity tournament, will be receiving invites to the RBET rulers at the end of the year. So just want to do something kind, give back to the world, because they've given a lot to us, and I feel like having a charity tournament would be pretty cool. Anyway, onto the deck. This is actually a deck that I've played on the channel before, almost exactly card for card, if not exactly card for card. I think there's only one change to this deck since the last time I've played it. And I believe that one change is that I cut the Gotham's E-Call from the side for the one copy of Pulling the Rug. This is a Teledad deck. It is made to abuse the most powerful interactions in this format while playing a sort of featherweight skeleton of triple Doom Caliber Knight, basically. This is exactly the type of deck that I personally would see myself taking to a tournament. I could see myself taking this to a very serious event. I think this is probably one of the better strategies you can play in the format. You get a fully utilized Gold Sark. This gets to search for the most powerful cards in the format: Heavy Storm, Brain Control, and Dark Armed. Only thing you're not really searching for is Future Fusion, but Gold Sark for Future Fusion I've found in the more developed version of Edison format, the more 2022 version of it, it's a little slow. It's a little slow to Gold Sark for Future Fusion and then get the effect of following turn after that. So it's like a 3-turn thing. Whereas this, it's more immediate. You're getting your Mind Control, you're getting your Dark Armed immediately, and then you're going to be set up for it. Dark Armed on turn 3 is obviously one of the best times to get it because it's one of the most common times to have whatever. This deck does play 2 Malicious, no Stratos. We're not playing Rhoda, we're not playing Stratos, we're just playing the Doom Calibers. If you do draw double Malicious, you can restack one of them with Plague, so it's not completely dead. You have 2 Phoenix Wing Windblast to discard them. You can also discard them with Bionic, of course, and you can send them with Foolish Burial. There's no Armageddon Knight, no Dark Grepher in here, it's just 3 Doom Caliber Knights. You want your normal summons to be one of these, or to be a tuner, because you want to make an 8-star and then back up your power plays, or a Caius usually. Basically, I want to have the highest impact normal summons possible. I want to be normal summoning something that's synchroing, I want to be normal summoning a Doom Caliber Knight that's negating a key effect, or I want to be normal summoning a Caius the Shadow Monarch. Those are the only things I want to normal summon with this deck. Technically, Mystic Tomato it's kind of like a glue card here, but it counts as normal summoning a tuner a lot of the time. Also, Mystic Tomato can grab Malicious and get you a double level 8 play, which is quite nice. Spirit Reaper is, I don't know. I think it's good in this deck because it combos well with Gold Sark. It walls out your opponent, and then it lets you get your power card, and then you can go off from there. Emergency Teleport for the 2 Krebons, very powerful. Mind Control, very powerful. You've got the 4 most powerful traps in the format: Torrential Mirror Force, Solemn Judgment, and Trap Dust Shoot, as well as double Bottomless. I think Bottomless works pretty well in this deck particular because you can struggle with the faster decks that are trying to run you over, like Heroes sometimes. And it also helps against Titanial, which can be a problem for this deck as well. In the sideboard, I've got 2 Sirokkos. These are for the Blackwing matchup. These are also for other aggro matchups. You'll see in the videos the replays, I don't play against Blackwings or Vayu, but I do side them in a couple of the matchups, just because the 2000 stat line on a normal summon going second is actually very strong. You can have a turn where you special summon Cyber Dragon, your opponent maybe bottomlesses that, you normal summon Sirocco, and you've presented 2 very powerful threats that attack over just about anything in the format, and your opponent has to have 2 stops for that in order to protect whatever they started with. Doom Caliber Knight is really nice because it helps you play into Raikou, helps you deal with Hamster, and that can help you supplement these 2 Kaikus in the board. Kaiku doesn't really like running into set monsters that much. That's why we also have this Nobleman of Crossout as well to bring in against decks that are trying to set Raikou, trying to maybe set a Pyramid Turtle, try to wall out the Kaikus from connecting. Kaiku helps you stop Miracle Fusion, helps you stop Mizuki, it helps you stop a lot of different stuff. It comes in against Light Sworns. It's a very proactive threat against Light Sworns. It's not like Light Imprisoning Mirror, where it's kind of like this weird, like, it does something sometimes, but does something not all the time, because sometimes they just wolf beat you to death before you get the light mirror, and it's kind of awkward. We got double DD Crow. DD Crow is just one of the best cards in Edison format. You got to have it in your sideboards. I think it's just super clutch. Comes in almost every single matchup. The only matchups it's not very good against is like Glads and Blackwings. It can be kind of a miss against Blackwings. And I have also found that it's not the best against Vayu either. I've got Mind Crush. This is for unfair strategies. Decks that are looking to Gold Sark themselves. Also pretty good against the Dragon Turbo deck. You can pretty much just Mind Crush their hand and win the game. Karma Cut helps you deal with problematic cards opposing Treeborn Frogs. You can banish both Treeborn Frogs with one card here. We've got Cold Wave. In some matchups, you do want a Gold Sark for Cold Wave, so we'll bring it in those matchups. And then you've got some generic traps to round things out, as well as a Pulling the Rug for Monarch decks. I think this deck is very well rounded. If you play well, you should be winning the majority of your games with this deck. I have a pretty good record with it. I think lifetime I've had a few losses with it. One of the losses was on the channel against James Ark. I lost in a crew battle. I kind of threw, to be fair, but I did lose. I lost a couple other games with it where I feel like I misplayed. But those are the types of decks that I personally like to play. I personally like to play decks where if I play well, I'm going to get rewarded, and if I play poorly, I'm going to lose. And that's fine. That way, at least I can own my loss. I can say I lost due to this, not because of myself, that kind of stuff. This is exactly the type of deck that I would bring to a tournament. This is exactly the type of deck that I think is a very serious deck in the format. Let's go ahead and jump into the replays. If you guys aren't already subscribed, by the way, go ahead and click that subscribe button. You know what it is. You know what it is. We're on the way to 5K. We're getting up there, almost at 4,600, which is hella sick. Edison format to the moon, baby. Diamond hands. Everyone, go purchase your first edition gold sarcophagus right now. Go purchase them. Okay, this is match 1 against Nate Ninja. I win the rock, paper, scissors, which is very fortunate. We wish each other good luck. You love to see it. Nate Ninja is playing Hero Beat. He's got Double Miracle, the OTK combo, of course, and he's got Skill Drain, Captain Gold, as well as E-Call. I opened double Gold Sarcophagus. I've got Heavy Storm, Doom Caliber, Solemn Judgment, and Krebens. I like to hold Solemn Judgment in these matchups. Not in these matchups, sorry. Just in general. Solemn Judgment is a great way to back up Dark Arm Dragon when you drop it. But I also don't want to set the Solemn Judgment, particularly in this hand, into my own Heavy Storm. So that'll come up here in a second. I activate both Gold Sarks. I go search the 2 best cards that I don't already have in my hand, which is Brain Control and Dark Arm Dragon. I can pretty easily set up for a Dark Arm Dragon, provided I find a 3rd Dark. Majority of my deck is Dark, so it'll probably happen in the next 2 turns. I normal summon Doom Caliber. Normally, it's kind of back and forth whether you want to normal summon this or Krebens, because basically this Doom Caliber is going to trade for the opponent's worst card in their hand, which, to be fair, kind of sucks a lot of the time. But I actually think that the Krebens has a little bit more value later on, being able to buy me an extra turn to find these and to stay in play and sort of just keep me floating. If they don't out the Doom Caliber Knight right away, that's also good too, because I can pro heavy and then pressure them with this. So they're going to activate Captain Gold. They drew Dark Bribe. This card will help them protect their skill drain, I think. I'm not really sure. We're going to go ahead and tribute our Doom Caliber Knight to negate the Captain Gold. They're going to E-Call for Stratos, normal summon Stratos. It may look like we're down a shit ton of cards, 3-6, but we are getting our 2 best cards in our whole deck in the next turn. So here they set the Dark Bribe and the Skill Drain. Thankfully for us, we do end up picking up Mystical Space Typhoon, but we would have had the Solemn Judgment regardless. So we're going to go ahead and flip the Heavy Storm. They're going to Dark Bribe us. We're going to draw into our 3rd Dark for our Dark Armed, which is also perfect because it's a Dark that combos well with Brain Control. It also can Synchro 8 into Krebens, and we can maybe do something like that in the following turns. I'm going to set both my cards and normal summon Krebens here. The reason I set both cards is I think Blind Typhooning is not very good value against this deck because I don't know. They don't have a hero in the grave, but I think Blind Typhooning is not very good value. You can save it and chain it to the Floodgates. The 1-for-1 traps, I don't mind trading my monsters for 1-for-1 traps. Like if they're going to use a 1-for-1 trap on the Krebens, be my guest. But you got to save Typhoon and you got to save Heavy Storm for the Floodgates in this matchup. So that's why you don't just gun it into the dark. They normal summon Ocean here, not electing to go for the E-Call. to find Alias, which is an interesting choice. An interesting choice. From my perspective now, if you look at my hand, I see that they have 1 water in circulation, and I'm thinking, damn, that's a great target for Caius. All right, let's go ahead and negate this effect. They're going to chain Skill Drain, and we are going to chain Mystical Space Typhoon. Preserve the Solemn Judgment, you know, just keep that preserved, keep our Krebins in play. Worst case scenario, if they set something that stops our Brain Control and our Solemn, we will still be able to sack Krebins for Caius and banish their only water, hopefully cutting off potential Miracle Fusions. As you see, they have 2 in their hand now. Draw Phoenix Wing Windblast, gonna add both Dark Armed and Brain Control. And here on this turn, I have a really nice play. I'm able to Brain Control Stratos, sacrifice it for Caius, banish their Elemental Hero Ocean, make Stardust special Dark Armed Dragon, and have Solemn Judgment to back all of that up, and pretty much just take over this game from here. This is generally why you want to save Solemn Judgment in these types of matchups. You want to be able to protect your pushes with Dark Armed Dragon or Big Synchros. It plays a lot like Teledad of old, obviously, because that's literally what it is, but this is how you would play Teledad in the older formats too. You just have more Solemns and more teleports to be able to do stuff like this. In this format, we're supplementing the lost cards from the ban list by just adding more power in essentially extra copies in Goldsark and more stuff like Caius to play the mid-rangey game. Here we make Stardust. Like I said earlier, special Dark Armed pop the back row. Go ahead and attack directly with both. I don't know if I set the Wind Blast. I think I do. I'm like 99% sure I set the Wind Blast. I didn't. Jeez, that was a confidence move. Opponent had no waters. Again, cutting off the waters in this matchup is huge. And that's why I sided the way I sided. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the way I side in this matchup. I do bring in the 2 DD Crows. They help you deal with Hero Blast. Yes, they do conflict with Doom Caliber Knights, but we're actually going to be siding out 2 of the Doom Caliber Knights. I'm also going to be bringing in the 2 Sirokkos. They outclass all of their grounded monsters except for Cyber Dragon. I also bring in the Dust Tornadoes as well in this matchup. So it's the Dust Tornadoes, the Crows, and the 2 Sirokkos, I believe. I'm not sure if I side in the Mind Crush going second. I don't think I do. I'm pretty sure I side out 2 Doom Calibers. I think I side out... I'm not sure what else I side out. I think I side out the Book of Moons for the Dust Tornadoes, because they serve a similar role in that they both generally trade for back row, because our monsters are already outclassing their monsters, so Book of Moon's going to trade for back row more often than it's going to trade for monsters. And Dust Tornado just does that more effectively. And then I believe I side out... You know, I think it's Spirit Reaper and one other card, but I'm not sure. Oh, Dust Shoot. Yeah, I think it's Dust Shoot, Spirit Reaper. Both come out. Dust Shoot, like I said, our monsters just outclass theirs. We don't really care about the monsters. We care more about the back row and keeping the floodgates clear. So we go Dust Shoot out in this matchup, Spirit Reaper out in this matchup, 2 Doom Calibers out, and then, of course, the 2 Book of Moons out. And then we are going to be bringing in the 2 Dust Tornadoes, the 2 Sirokkos, and the 2 DD Crows to help combat Miracle Fusion and... what is that other card? Hero Blast, of course. We get to go second this game, which is fine. Sirocco helps you when going second. We open Goldsark again. Their opening hand is actually really solid. They have Deep Prison. They have the Spark combo with Alias. They've got Captain Gold to search the field spell. Everything looks pretty good on their end. And their draw is Mirror Force, which is another decent trap card. It is a little awkward that these battle traps are not the best against Dark Armed Dragon, which our deck is looking to turbo out, of course. But they're alright. They start off with Normal Summon Alias, and they do set Spark only. I don't hate this play to play around Heavy Storm, but I think you could make a very strong argument for normal summoning Elemental Hero Ocean and setting Deep Prison instead. I think this opening is a little bit more resilient. The Alias you can play later on into back row, whereas now you can't really effectively normal summon an Ocean into back row because I could have Bottomless, banishing your only water, again, stranding your Miracle Fusions. So I believe that this is actually not the thing you want to lead on the first turn. I think you want to lead on Ocean plus Prison. And I think you also want to activate Elemental Hero Captain Gold so that your Ocean does survive. You'll be able to add back your hero and maybe even normal summon it with Skyscraper in play. So I think this opening was a little bit botched from Nate Ninja. I think it's a suboptimal opening. If you think about the way you want to play this hand, when these cards are going to be good and when they're going to be bad, this Alias is going to be good no matter what for the rest of the game because you have the Spark. But this Ocean's not going to be a very good summon every turn after the first because for better or worse, I mean, like into any back row, it's just not safe, more or less. On our turn, we pick up I don't remember. It's one of the tuners, I think. I lead on Sirocco. This is going to force an Honest or a Bottomless or a Deep Prison because it's just bigger than the Alias. Go ahead and attack. If they don't have a stop, so the reason I wait on the Gold Sark till main phase 2 is because I'm going to change what I look for based off of whether or not they stop this Sirocco attack. If they don't stop the Sirocco attack, it's like 99% their back row is either Dark Bribe, Skill Drain, and Royal Oppression, or they just have a Cyber Dragon that they want to use to run over the Sirocco. So those are the two things, and that's going to change what I Gold Sark for. If this Sirocco dies, which is most likely what's going to happen here, then I'm going to Gold Sark for Dark Arm Dragon. They're going to Spark the Sirocco. I Gold Sark for Dark Arm Dragon because it's our best card in our deck. And we set Phoenix Wing Windblast and pass. Phoenix Wing Windblast does have a good discard in Plague Spreader Zombie. They pick up Fossil Dyna, which normally would be an okay card against our kind of deck, but our core of the Doom Caliber Knights and the Siroccos and the other stuff is pretty good. We did draw our one Doom Caliber Knight. I think we sided out two. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, Fossil Dyna can be okay in this matchup. On this turn, they pick up E-Call. They are going to E-Call for Strizzy Stratos. Normal summon it and go search another Alias, I believe. Yep. They're going to attack for 1800. And I think they set just D-Prison. Yeah, they do. Okay, cool. Picked up DD Crow. DD Crow is going to be good because that's going to help us play around Hero Blast. Unfortunately, though, we can't normal summon Doom Caliber Knight and attack Elemental Hero Stratos because if they have Hero Blast, DD Crow will trade with our own Doom Caliber Knight quite awkwardly. That's kind of part of the reason why we side out Doom Caliber Knights in this matchup because we don't want to conflict with our hand traps as well. So I believe this turn I just normal summon Krebins and I pass. I have Wind Blast in case they have Skill Drain, which is something I was concerned of. Looks like they picked up Consecrated Light. That could have been a serious problem for us if that was what they chose to summon here. They have some really interesting Floodgate cards that are quite deadly, if I do say so myself. But they like to summon Ocean. And this is awkward, right? Because, like, do you want to summon this into Bottomless? Like, is that something you want to do? I don't know. Maybe they just want to attack my Krebins twice. I think it would have been better for them to summon the Consecrated Light upon review. We do have the Wind Blast for it, but I don't know. Next turn we're getting Dark Armed. We can go Synchro 6 and then have a live Dark Armed because we already have one Dark Engrave, and that's most likely what we're going to end up doing. We negate both attacks. Go ahead and see what they want to do. We pick up Bottomless Trap Hole and we grab Dark Armed. So here I believe I actually Wind Blast and I discard Bottomless Trap Hole. I think. No, maybe that's incorrect. I think I just say fuck it. I think I just say fuck it, your back row isn't real. Yeah, that's what I said. I said fuck it, it's a Floodgate. So I normal summon Doom Caliber here, and I said, if you have Hero Blast, fuck it. You pop my Doom Caliber, alright, you got me. You know what I mean? Maybe I even Crow to get 3 Darks and go from there. If you have Bottomless Trap Hole, alright, you got me. I'm behind. But you know what? I'm a little bit behind positionally anyway. I'm going to have to make a play eventually. So I go ahead and summon the Doom Caliber Knight. I make Goyo Guardian. They have no stop for this. I'm like, okay, they have no stop for Goyo, then they don't have a stop for Dark Armed. Dark Arm's going to come down. I am going to priority pop the back row because obviously, or not priority pop. Priority pop the back row, I think, yeah. That's what I ended up doing there. Yeah, I even said it in the chat. Now, Goyo can attack over Stratos. That can get us Malicious, which is actually a great discard for our Phoenix Wing Windblast. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I do have to be careful about this Ocean hitting the grave. But they only have one water as of right now and one other hero, so I have DD Crow to prevent at least one Miracle Fusion. Stratos is going to activate. He's going to search us the Destiny Hero Malicious. I'm going to attack over the Ocean with Dark Arm Dragon, and then I'm going to set Bottomless Trap Hole and pass. It's a little awkward from the opponent that they've, I don't know. They've have these insane cards against our deck, and they haven't chosen to play any of them. Like, imagine if the Consecrated Light had been in play there that turn. I would have been forced to use my Wind Blast. I would have been forced into such a weird, awkward little situation where I have maybe 2 or 4 Darks engraved but can't get a different number, or I'm forced to discard my Bottomless Trap Hole. Instead, because they chose to summon Ocean later on in the game instead of on that earlier turn, they're just so far behind in terms of, like, what their resources were used for. Like, if their Deep Prison had been used on the opener and they saved the more versatile, chainable Gemini Spark for the later turns, this would have been much harder for me to put together. But since they, mis-sequenced the opening, they used the least versatile card later when I'm able to play around stuff and use the more versatile card up front, I'm just in a better position as a result. Okay, they're going to activate Captain Gold. That's fine. They're going to grab Skyscraper. They're going to special summon Cyber Dragon. That's fine. I don't do anything about that because this doesn't do anything. If they attack with it, I can Wind Blast it. If they summon a hero, I'm going to Bottomless that. It's not a big deal. They summon the hero. There's a Bottomless. And that's just curtains. They attack over the Stratos. Here, I don't really care. I'm going to M-Face Wind Blast the back row. And then on my turn, I'm going to make an 8-star, pop the Cyber Dragon, and attack for game, provided there's no Battle Fader. So I think the opponent, he had a chance. Nate Ninja had a chance this game. And it's weird, right? Because if you look back at this game, he didn't play his cards badly. He just used a card that's less versatile later when he could have saved the more versatile card, the more powerful card for later on to respond to something like Dark Arm Dragon. I think that minor sequencing error definitely cost him this game. And this is kind of why the Dark Arm Dragon deck feels so fun to play. Because if your opponent makes a slight mistake, you just kill them out of nowhere with Dark Arm Dragon. And also if you're playing well and you get a right read on a back row here or there, you get a huge punish with stuff like Goyo Guardian, Synchros, or Dark Arm Dragon. It's one of the best decks at amassing advantage and securing positions because Stardust Dark Armed is actually very hard to break. Dark Arm is going to banish, pop the Cyber Dragon, and that's going to be it for the first game. All right, let's go ahead and watch the next game against LOL-OH. I win the Rock, Paper, Scissors again. When I'm focusing and not recording live, I do win the Rock, Paper, Scissors more often. My opponent opens, their hand has Airbellum, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the Gladiator deck unless you're playing Rescue Cat. And even then, it's a fringe pick because it is a little bit of a brick. They've also got Upstart Goblin. Now, my opinions on Upstart Goblin are, a little bit contrary to the popular beliefs. First off, my opponent's playing 41 cards with Upstart Goblin. Why the fuck are you playing 41 cards with Upstart Goblin? Let's just get that out of here. Just cut one of the Upstart Goblins. Let's be real. Second off, in Rescue Cat decks, every draw you draw further, assuming you have, like, in Glads it's a little different because, like, Tiger's actually a decent draw. But every draw you have past the first draw, let's say you're playing these Airbellums and stuff like that, and Sam Knight and stuff like that. Every draw you have past the first draw, like, is subsequently more draws towards drawing your cat targets versus is this exponentially, that's the word I'm looking for. It's exponentially more percentage of drawing your cat targets than drawing your actual cat before you've drawn your cat targets. It's worse to activate Upstart Goblin Index with cat than to activate a card that might tutor it like Gold Sarcophagus, for example. You definitely want to tutor your power card cat when it has multiple garnets that you don't want to draw. So I think in Glads is a little different because you do want to draw Test Tiger, but in general, Upstart Goblin is dog shit card in Glads. It's very bad, especially when you're playing 41 cards. Just cut it from your deck. It's so bad. You're just going to draw into your Murmillos, your Sam Knights, your whatever, your low impact cards, and your opponent's just going to laugh at you and have extra life points to continue the game on. Our opening hand is all pretty solid cards. We've got 3 trap cards. Trap cards are incredible against Gladiator Beasts. They usually destroy decks like this. And we've got some really solid openers to pick from. In this match, I elect not to start on the Doom Caliber Knight because, again, your Doom Caliber Knight's going to trade with the worst card in your opponent's hand. I'd rather that not be the case. I'd rather, lead on Sangan, lead on my trap cards. I also do have the read that the opponent is playing Gladiator Beasts. So I do want to be able to, just set up a position where my Doom Caliber isn't randomly 1-for-1 trading with a Test Tiger. I don't really like that this early on. So I'm going to set Sangan, set Bottomless Trap Hole, and I believe that's it. I believe I pass. Here they draw Bestiari, so they draw another monster. And Upstart Goblin, it's like, do you really want to play it here? I don't know. They go ahead and Proving Ground and find Laquari. They normal Laquari. I Bottomless Trap Hole. I don't really understand why you wouldn't use your Giant Trunade here, or at least use your Upstart Goblin first if that's what you were going to do. They just pass. So they like not to use their Upstart Goblin. Interesting decision. Not only including Upstart Goblin in 41 cards, but not activating it is questionable. It's questionable for sure. On our turn, we pick up Caius, which is actually a really good draw, and we're able to poke with the Spirit Reaper, which is nice as well. So I normal summon Spirit Reaper, and this is the best value we're going to get out of Spirit Reaper this entire game. There's a good chance he sticks around past this turn, and if he doesn't, at least I traded 1-for-1 with a card in their hand. I do believe they have a pretty monster-heavy hand, so hitting a Glad is actually not the best because they can tag out and Darius the Glad back into play, giving them tempo advantage. But I'm willing to spin the wheel here and there. I do get very lucky and hit the Giant Trunade. So, I mean, that's that. You should have played the Trunade on the first turn to guarantee your Laquari. I set both my cards. They draw Gladiator Beasts Respite. So now they're going to activate their Upstart Goblin first. No, they're not even going to do that. So I think you should use your Upstart Goblins before using Respite, because Respite is going to shuffle the Glads back into the deck. You want to use Upstart Goblin before you've shuffled your 2 bricks back into your deck. This sequencing is actually quite poor. I think you use Upstart Goblin before the bricks are in the deck, and ideally when your hand is more what you want it to be. And then, in general, this is just why this card is awkward in this deck. It's just like, you never want to activate it. He hasn't activated. It's been 2 turns now. He hasn't activated it. He's missed like 3 opportunities to do something with it. I don't know. It's questionable. So they're going to return the Sam Knight and the Bestiari, but those are their only 2 Glad monsters, so they can't really tag. I honestly would have upstarted before that just to see a chance at whatever. They draw into Book of Moon, Mirror Force, and War Chariot, and this is just kind of fucking awkward because now you have War Chariot, but you have no Glad. So they activate Upstart. They draw into Darius. Darius is pretty big for them, but Darius into 2 back row, it's not that safe. So they normal summon Darius, set 3, and they can't really afford to attack because, I mean, that's just going to shut off their Chariot. Their cards are Book of Moon, Mirror Force, and Gladiator Beast War Chariot. On our turn, we pick up Emergency Teleport, which is an insane draw. I'm going to lead off by sacking Sangan for Caius the Shadow Monarch, and I'm going to try to target the Darius. I don't mind playing into a Chariot here. I need the Sangan and the Caius. Well, I need the Sangan to go to the grave because I need to search Malicious for Phoenix Wing Windblast to set up my 8-star play. And then I also need the Caius to trade with one of the back row. I can Windblast one of the other back row and then basically just have like a 1-in-3 shot at like opponent having a blank back row to Stardust Dragon more or less, which is highly likely if I'm going to be real. And then Spirit Reaper is also going to connect and take the last card out of their hand if we do it this way. So I'm going to sack for Caius. I've mentioned this in a few recent videos, but Caius is a very good card to play into back row. Your opponent's almost always going to have to trade awkwardly into it, especially if you're sacking something like a Goblin Zombie or a Sangan or a Dandelion, which is what's happening here. Unfortunately, in Edison format, Sangan has to be Chainlink 1, so I can't chain block Caius. Caius has to be Chainlink 2, but it's fine. I mean, that's kind of exactly what I wanted. I wanted to bait out a Chariot. Sangan searches the Malicious. I Windblast, target a random back row. Doesn't really matter which one you target here, as long as it's one that stops Stardust. We did hit a nice 50-50, hitting the Book of Moon instead of the Mirror Force. But in the case that we did hit, Mirror Force instead of Book of Moon, what do? They book Krebins. And then it's like, okay, I pass the turn. They can't attack me. I just Mirror Force them. And then on my turn, I just flip Krebins, make Stardust, and do the same thing all over again. So it's fine either way. It may look like a lucky 50-50, but it's actually the same regardless. It's almost even better that I hit the book here for them. I go ahead and teleport out the Krebins. I Synchro into Stardust Dragon, and their Mirror Force is not going to do anything. So, actually, if I was them, I would have definitely Mirror Forced here and forced the Stardust to negate, because at least on their turn, they can Darius attack the Spirit Reaper. Yes, I do have Mirror Force. Alternatively, they could use Airbellum and Darius to make an Ancient Fairy Dragon in defense and stall out a little bit longer. But, I mean, like, those plays are both better than having this Mirror Force that does nothing against the Stardust and not having either of your monsters. So I think this is a missequencing from the opponent not using the Mirror Force here. Like, you just kind of need to use it as a negate attack at this point because it's never going to do anything for the rest of the game against Stardust Dragon anyway, knowing that you're top decking Book of Moon. So you need to find a position that buys you time, and the only position that reasonably is going to buy you any time is Ancient Fairy Dragon in defense. So you need to buy the battle phase here. Stardust will be forced to negate, and then you'll still have the Darius and the Airbellum, and you'll just have to hope that my back row is not real. Otherwise, you're never winning this game. And that's basically what happens. I mean, the Stardust takes over. We draw Torrential, which is just even further insurance. They have Smashing Ground. That does nothing against Stardust. I Typhoon their new back row. It's Smashing Ground. And I attack with both. They're forced to Book of Moon here. No, they use Mirror Force here. So again, here this is not a good play. You should use your Book of Moon on the Stardust Dragon first, because if you top a Glad, you can attack into Spirit Reaper and then maybe put something together where you're able to Contact Fuse somehow. I'm not even fucking sure how, but maybe you can figure it out. I don't really know. I think using Book of Moon here is better on the Stardust and saving the Mirror Force just to get the Stardust face down. They top deck Secutor, which is fitting. You know, you play Upstart Goblin, you're going to draw into Secutor. It's just the way the deck works. Again, you're more likely to draw into, especially in this deck, you know, you have Sam Knight, you have Airbellum, you have Secutor, you have Murmillo, you have Rediari sometimes. You have all these, like, kind of shitter monsters that you don't really want to draw into. And then you have one cat. So your Upstart Goblin's going to draw you into those other cards way more frequently than it's going to draw you into the one cat. Here I just sack the guy for the guy and then I go for game, because why the fuck not? They end up conceding because at that point the position's unwinnable for them. There's no one single card they can top deck to get them out of that position. And we're going to go to game 2. For side decking against Gladiator Beasts, I leave in all of the Doom Caliber Knights. Doom Caliber Knight is actually fantastic in this matchup. Spirit Reaper comes out for sure, as does Trap Dust Shoot. We also do side out, I believe, Sangan Double Tomato. We're bringing in both Sirocco, both Kaiku for sure. And then we also, I believe, bring in Karma Cut, Double Dust, Double D Prison. I think we bring in 9 cards, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to remember the 9 cards I side out. I'm not sure if I side out the Gold Sarks. I think I do. I think I do side out the Gold Sarks. I think I do side out Foolish, because they can tend to have Defissure. And that's it. What do I side out? It's like Foolish. If we side out Foolish, that's 6. There's 2 more cards, 3 more cards. It's like 2 Gold Sarks and then something random. It might be a Caius. I'm not really sure. But I do bring in the 2 Siroccos, the 2 Kaikus, the Karma Cut, the Double Dust, and the Double D Prison in this matchup. I might only bring in 1 D Prison and cut these 8. But yeah, that's pretty much that. That's how I sideboard in this matchup. You want to have your extra beat sticks, both of these monsters. Again, it's like Hero Beat, but imagine their monsters are even worse. So Sirocco and Kaiku outclass their entire cast. And then on top of that, the extra chainable removal in Karma Cut, Dust Tornado, both very good against Trap Stun, Cold Wave, that kind of thing. And they're also very good at 2-for-1ing into Tiger. Well, 2-for-2ing into Tiger in Karma Cut's case. And then D Prison just helps you against like random beaters like poking at you under Defissure and whatnot. Okay, back to the game. Go ahead and go second. Opponent's going to be at 41. They're going to draw into Defissure, Double Book, Laquari, Bottomless Trap Hole. Not a bad hand. Not a bad hand. Our opening hand, solid as well. We've got the Karma Cut. We've got the Malicious Combo. We've got Sirocco and Cyber Dragon, 2 very strong monsters at dealing with Gladiator Beast Laquari. Opponent leads on Normal Summon, Laquari, Activate Defissure, set Bottomless, I believe. I like this opening from the opponent. I do think that you're getting so fucked by Heavy Storm, you might as well set a Book of Moon too. I like, how are you ever beating Heavy Storm into beater anyway? Just set a Book of Moon. These are -1s anyway, so you might as well just have a better position. That's the way I would play this opening hand. But I understand it is like get super fucked by Heavy Storm as opposed to get like semi-fucked by Heavy Storm. But this way your position is just much less secure. If I have something like Brain Control here, you fucking lose. If I have something like, I don't know, literally Cyber Dragon Normal Summon Monster, you fucking lose. So, I mean, that's exactly kind of what happens. I pick up Gale, which is actually a really interesting one because I can special summon it with Sirocco to make an 8-star. However, all of the 8-stars are kind of not so hot into Defissure. Stardust Dragon obviously just disappears at the sight of anything that destroys it. Thought Ruler Archfiend's interesting, but the reason I don't go for it here is because my opponent is playing Upstart Goblin and Gladiator Beast Respite and Giant Trunade and all the cat shit. All of that leads me to believe that they don't have a lot of room for targeting spells and traps. It means they're probably not playing Compulsory Evacuation Device. It means they're probably not playing stuff like, I don't fucking know, Brain Control. Something that Thought Ruler Archfiend would actually want. So I actually elect to preserve the Gale on this turn. I go ahead and special Cyber Dragon. They're forced to bottomless. I normal Sirocco. I run over their Laquari. And then I set both of my cards because I know that if they want a Heavy Storm, be my fucking guest. You still have to get over 2,000 and you're clearing your own D-Fissure, which is great for me. So I set both my cards. Opponent Smashing is my monster, and then they set one and pass. We have Gale, and I'm just going to pressure with Gale and set the Torrential as well, I believe. Yeah. Gale poke. Gets under bottomless. Opponent doesn't want to spend the Book of Moon because it's a -1. These Book of Moons looking kind of sad because you didn't set one the first turn. I mean, they get used very inefficiently this game. Very, very inefficiently. In not setting it on the first turn, yes, you do take a risk. You take a gamble that I don't have Heavy Storm, but what are the chances I have Heavy Storm, right? What is it, 6 and 40? It's not very high. It's not very high, and you secure a position that's actually very strong. So, yep. They draw War Chariot, complete brick with no glads. Attack directly with the Gale. Mind Control is actually a great draw because it turns our Book of Moon into a hard removal kind of thing. Attack for 13. They top deck Bottomless Trap Hole. Again, really awkward against 1,300 monster attacking them directly. We draw D-Prison, yet another monster removal. They're going to need so much just to get through one of these, let alone 4. So we're actually just like pretty much won here. This position is pretty much won at this point. Even this Murmillo is like, you need so much for this to go right. They go normal Murmillo. I'm like, sure. They special Tiger. They activate with priority. I chain Book of Moon, target the Murmillo. They have no stop for this. So their Murmillo's face down. Now their War Chariot is dead. I know none of these other cards can stop my Gale, as far as I know right now. At card advantage, there is a new set. I have no way of dealing with that, but that's fine. I just go ahead and attack my monster into their monster. Whatever. And they Book of Moon. And this is where I think this Book of Moon is also very bad too. They should have used the Book of Moon that was already set, because that's a card that I'm reading as Book of Moon. This card over here, I don't have a read on it now. You know what I mean? I have a read that this is already Book of Moon, so I already know that this is potentially a book. You should use this one instead of this one, if that makes sense. This one is more threatening. It could be torrential. It could be, it could be a lot of different things. It could be another book. Who knows? But the thing is I have less of a read on this card than I do on this card here. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set Solemn. Just another trap card. Gladiator Beast decks just cannot play through trap cards. They fucking struggle so much, especially if the trap cards are chainable. Like, yes, they can trap stun Geyseris you. Okay, yeah, that can happen, but is it ever happening here with fucking Solemn Karma Cut? No, it's not happening. They're going to flip Murmillo. They drew Heavy Storm, which is actually not a bad draw. If I was them, I would have gone for it first before flipping the Murmillo. I would have gone for Heavy Storm. Because the only way they're fucking winning this game is if they resolve a Gladiator Beast tag. Now this Heavy Storm is just a bad card because it gets rid of their only defense. I would have definitely activated this. You go 5 for 4, but then you clear the monster, so it's 5 for 5. And then you get a tag into a high equity monster, which is going to be probably a 2100 Laquari. So you get an upgrade and you get a 5 for 5 if the Heavy Storm resolves. Worst case scenario, you trade for Solemn Judgment, which is actually great for you because it's a 4,000 life point swing. So I think that this is actually a bad spot for them to not use Heavy Storm. I think they should have definitely used it. A lot of sequencing stuff from the opponent that could have been different if they had just recognized little game state things here and there. We flip the Gale. They have no stops. We're just going to swing with Gale. They're down to 2,600. It's a 2-turn clock. They did draw another War Chariot. Kind of awkward. Kind of awkward. At this point, they should definitely have thought about maybe even keeping that first dead War Chariot in their hand in case they top deck Gladiator Beast Respite. That's definitely something they should have kept in mind. So actually, on hindsight, not having that War Chariot in hand is probably a misplay as well. We go ahead and we draw Lure. I go ahead and use it because why the fuck not? Find some more beaters. These are just going to seal up the game. They're going to take this Gale hit, and now they have to play defensively for the rest of the game because any one of our monsters is going to be lethal. We banish Malicious because it does nothing under D-Fissure. Go ahead and attack directly for 1,300. Opponent drops to 1,300. They drew another D-Fissure, and they have to book this Gale. They do. And I don't Solemn it because I'm like, okay. They still have to play a monster through all of our trap cards. to do anything. I just pass. They draw Test Tiger. They set it. We draw. Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Not the best, but I mean, whatever. A Mind Control. And then just attack for game. And that's going to be that. Opponent offered a rematch, I believe. No, they didn't. That's the next one. Says GG's. Very respectable. This is another game. This is another game where if you replay this game from the Gladiator Beasts perspective and you just set the Book of Moon on turn 1 instead of not doing that, then I think you actually have a shot at winning this game, which is crazy, which is super, super crazy that tiny little misplay cost them that entire game, which is wild. Something to think about for sure moving forward. LOLLOH if you watch this in the future. Definitely understand when you want to say fuck it, Heavy Storm isn't real, and when you do. Again, those Book of Moons, look at what they cost you at the end of the game. They did nothing. They just bought you extra draw steps. They were like jank threatening roars. Whereas if you had secured your opening early on, you would have had the positional advantage. You would have had the Laquari from turn 1. It would have been very difficult for me to ever mount anything against that, especially under Defissure. All right, in the last replay is against Error 405. I win the rock, paper, scissors again. So I go 3 for 3 with rock, paper, scissors, which obviously is amazing, especially with this deck. I know I am playing Cyber Dragons and a few other cards that are only good going second, but I think this deck does do very well going first as well. I think one of the cool things about this Teledad deck actually is how well it does do going second. If you look at the monster lineup, we've got Cyber Dragon and Doomcaliber Knight, which is 5 great monsters you want to summon into a set and into back row. I think these are just 5 great monsters. You can also burst out Caius off Cyber Dragon. Similarly to how Diva Hero can burst off of the Evil Guy. You can also, if you really need to, Foolish or E-Telly into attribute material for your Caius as well. So you have some actually pretty strong plays going second. You also have Sangan and Mystic Tomato to help poke if your opponent starts without a monster. And you have Spirit Reaper to hold off if your opponent is too aggressive. And then, of course, in the sideboard, you've got the 2 Sirokkos as well to help going second. Opponent's got Copy Plant in their hand, which is kind of wild. Foolish Burial, Debris Dragon, combo. Pot of Avarice, Heavy Storm. Lots of quick draw shenanigans. Our draw is Mystic Tomato, which is actually a really good draw. It's a really good draw because now our whole hand is fucking insane. If they ever attack this Mystic Tomato, the game ends immediately that turn. We have an OTK. The way it works is Tomato gets Malicious. We have 2 tuners. We have 2 6-stars. That makes double level 8, and it gives us 3 darks at the very end of all of it for Dark Arm Dragon. So this is an insane hand. This is like the reason you play this deck is hands like this. Go ahead and set the Tomato, set the Wind Blast, and pass. Opponent draws a second copy of Debris Dragon. Little awkward. They Foolish Dandy. Go ahead and normal Debris. Here I say think on the Dandy summon. If I was them, I would maybe consider Black Rosing and blowing up the field. They will get 2 tokens. They do have a Debris Dragon to follow up. Black Rose going to the grave gives them an extra body in their graveyard for Pot of Avarice. I think it's all around better to Black Rose and take your 2 for 2 trade here because you do have the tokens left over for defense. You have Heavy Storm. You can set up some cool stuff with that. But the opponent elects to go for Stardust. And I also don't like going for Stardust when your opponent still has 6 cards and you don't know what they're on. Imagine I have a DD Warrior Lady set, or a Shining Angel, or a number of different things. A Treeborn Frog, or a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, which I do end up having. Or whatever. I can summon a Caius because it's a Pyramid Turtle. Or there's a million reasons not to go for a 2-for-1 Stardust into your opponent's opening with 6 cards. Gonna be 7 on the draw step. I think this is actually just a catastrophic misplay from the opponent. They should have gone for Black Rose 10 times out of 10 there. They get 2 extra tokens, and then they attack the Tomato, and this is exactly everything we would have asked for, right? They make a slight misstep in the opening, we get a Malicious, and now we get a fucking OTK. I do choose to play around Gores because they don't set Heavy Storm. It is good for them that they didn't set Heavy Storm because we would have been able to OTK them otherwise. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much straightforward stuff. Foolish the Plague, stack for Plague. Then you have to E-Telly first here in order to get Dark Armed online. So you E-Telly first before you synchro with the Plague. Go for this with the first Malicious. Another reason you want to stack for the Plague first is because you want to shuffle away Heavy Storm. Opponent has no back row and they have a Stardust. So there's no real reason to have Heavy Storm in his hand. Definitely want to shuffle it away. Synchro into our own Stardust. This can negate their Stardust if I want to go for a line like that. I could go for a line like that, but I think I'd go for a much more safe line. I go ahead and banish Malicious, special summon Malicious, make Red Dragon Archfiend, special summon that, and then Dark Arm Dragon, attack over Stardust Dragon. They take 300, Red Dragon, attack the tokens. And I think this is the best play into Gores. We still have all 3 Darks for the Dark Arm Dragon to pop the Gores stuff if we want to. We still have, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. We still have a lot of other stuff. We get to attack with all our monsters, so our Red Dragon isn't awkwardly killing some of our own shit. So yeah, I think this is the best way to play into Gores. 2,500 damage means that next turn, if they can't break this board, which is a very difficult board to break, then they're going to fucking lose. So yeah, that's pretty much what happens. They top deck Lone Fire Blossom. Another reason I didn't make Thought Ruler here is because Lone Fire Blossom specifically actually griefs the shit out of this, especially if they have a way to get extra tokens like Quickdraw first. So if they went like Quickdraw first and then Lone Fire Blossom into Titanial, it would actually grief the shit out of us if we made Thought Ruler. But that's another reason why we make Red Dragon here. Where was I going? Oh yeah, Heavy Storm. Stardust Dragon negates. Obviously, got to protect the Wind Blast. And Stardust Dragon might not get a chance to trade with this later on. Opponent summons Debris Dragon. That's fine. They get back Dandy. I Wind Blast the Debris Dragon because I can kill through the Dandy. Stardust comes back. On our turn, we top deck Caius for lethal. The game is bugging out because why the fuck would it not? Dark Arm Dragon attacks the Dandy. They take 2,500. They special summon 2 tokens. I attack over the tokens with the Red Dragon Archfiend. He pops them both with the effect. Stardust Dragon attacks directly for 2,500, and then Caius attacks for lethal. Cool. So now we have opponent going first with their Quickdraw deck. They've got Trap Stun, Supervised Gigaplant. I did not see any of this in the first game, so I sided as though they were on Quickdraw. Let me go over how I would side in this matchup. I side in the 2 DD Crows, a Nobleman of Crossout, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. No, wait. Is that it? Is that it? Is that how I sided? Hold. Let me think. I know I sided out the books. And I think I sided out 1 bottomless. And I brought in the 2 crows and the knock. I think that's it. I think that's how I sided. I don't think I brought in anything else. I didn't really exactly want the Dust Tornadoes or the Karma Cut because, of course, Titanial's awkward. Same reason we don't really want the Deep Prisons. I didn't really want the Pulling the Rug because I only saw Debris Dragon. I didn't see Caius. There's actually still a chance that they're not even on Caius at all, entirely, in their whole deck. As weird as that sounds, they could just not be on that. They could be on more of a Lightsworn thing, or you never really know. And yeah, I think I just boarded like that. If I see another sideboard card, I'm going to feel like an idiot, but I think it's just those 3. They top deck DD Crow. This is really awkward. You definitely don't want to be playing narrow cards like DD Crow that rely on your opponent having cards in their graveyard with stuff like this that needs setup. Unfortunately, DD Crow works best, or not unfortunately, but unfortunately DD Crow doesn't work in these types of strategies, basically is what I'm saying. But DD Crow works best in strategies that have lots of removal, stuff like our deck, where I am putting monsters in the graveyard, right? I am killing them by battle with Cyber Dragon and Doom Caliber and whatever, and I can DD Crow your key cards. Also, I think DD Crow against our deck it's like kind of awkward. It kills Doom Caliber Knight, which I don't even know if they saw in game 1. I don't even remember if they saw it in game 1, but yeah, here we are. Okay, Trap Stun gets set. On our turn, I Typhoon the back row, I normal summon Doom Caliber, and I attack. Doom Caliber Knight's very good for applying pressure. He lets you attack into cores, trag, that kind of stuff, and just does a very good job of all that. They don't utilize their DD Crow to kill the Doom Caliber here. I think this is a mistake. It's not getting better than that. That's a really solid 1-for-1 trade. And if you're gonna do it, you do it now. DD Crow, target the Space Typhoon, Doom Caliber, force negate. Yeah, that's, now that I'm rewatching this, that's just a straight up mistake. We set our Wind Blast. Opponent draws a second copy of Supervise. Avarice, Supervised Gigaplant, DD Crow. This is a gigantic brick of a deck, if I do say so myself. We draw our own DD Crow, a little awkward because we have Doom Caliber in play. I'm going to summon the Gale to further pressure the opponent. They still elect not to Crow the Typhoon, and they take a lot of damage here. As a result, we don't set the bottomless because The read is obviously that they have a sweeper, right? They open with Trapstone. They most likely have Cold Wave or whatever it is. So I'm like, I have Doom Caliber, I have Wind Blast. There's no way their deck can play through that and Crow. I don't need to set the bottom list too. So they go ahead and set the Crow here. Yeah, they must not understand that Crow can target Space Typhoon. They must think that Crow can only target monsters. But yeah, Crow would trade with the Doom Caliber Knight here. We go ahead and Wind Blast. And we are going to target, I believe, the back row. We're going to normal summon Plague and make Bryonic, but the opponent just had enough after seeing the Wind Blast and seeing this brick. And then they quit. They offered me a rematch, and I was just like, no thanks. Nothing against you, Era 405, but if you're going to offer a rematch before saying GG's, I'm not going to play you again. That's just the way it's going to go. In any case, I think this deck is really sick. I think it has a lot of potential. I think there is some room for optimization, particularly around the cards that I cite out the most, which is specifically Spirit Reaper, and I think one other card. I think it's just Spirit Reaper. I think this deck is very good, actually, and I do think Spirit Reaper is actually good in this deck, too. He's just a little awkward against Glads and Blackwings, but other than that, he's a very solid card. Anyway, smash like, subscribe. See you guys this weekend for the charity tournament. Don't forget to send me a screenshot of that beautiful charitable donation that you do, and then of course all of the stream stuff is going to go to charity this weekend as well too. See you guys later. E3 Yu-Gi-Oh signing off. Peace out, everyone.